Hi, I'm Somer Hackley.
And I am Zen Mak, and this is the Art of Search Hiring Manager Series, Hiring in the Age of AI.
Well, here we are again. Well, Zen, so good to see you. Welcome back. I know you're traveling a bit, so we had a little break there, and it's good to see you again. I wanted to introduce you to Shelley Perry. So, Shelley is a board director, she's a C-suite coach, she specializes in the scale up stage of growth, and yeah, she has so much to contribute on this topic. I'm excited. So, Shelley, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks. I'm super excited to be here. Passionate about this topic, so can't wait to get into it. All
Well,
right,
hello, and very much nice to meet you.
you.
Let's jump right in. We're talking about hiring in the age of AI, but specifically as it relates to C-suites. And when you're thinking about how kind of AI has infiltrated most of recruiting, most of hiring, how does that impact some of the way we're thinking about C-suite hiring, the way we're thinking about C-suite evaluation? What does that kind of look like as AI starts to really kind of push into that tier of folks as well? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So first, I want to caveat that most of my answers are going to be very much centered around the scale-up stage of growth because that's where I live. But for those that don't know, it's really in the private. They're still private, pre-public, but anywhere from kind of 40 million up to that. So that's typically also where you see a lot of C-suite replacements, first-time C-suites, and I'm super passionate about that because I think it's a great time for someone to break into the C-suite. But it also is quite an interesting time right now. And I think, especially as we're going into 2026, and now it's March in 2026, we're starting to see the first quarter of the year. And I think the differences between the C-suites that are in place today that are embracing AI and the C-suites who are ignoring it, which believe me, there still are some, if you can actually believe that, and the ones who are kind of on the sidelines, not ignoring it or skepticism, you're starting to see this like bigger divide. And I think we're going to start to see some replacements. I think people don't know that they're probably going to get replaced soon. Because it used to be that the business needed to do badly to think about replacing C-suites, but now it's so prevalent in terms of future value, in terms of embracing AI and the impact of it, that they're going to get replaced, not because the business isn't doing well, it's because they're not actively leading the conversations. And I think that's quite a difference from the past. And it's just something that we're seeing. So I think that if you are in a C-suite role today and you are not actively bringing up the conversation about how AI is impacting your functional area, you're probably going to get replaced and no one's telling you yet. That's my hot take on it.
If we were to extend this further, then what would be some of the criteria that we could be looking for or we're evaluating as we're either one going through a hiring process for adding a C-suite, like you said, in the scale up, right? There might be new functional areas that need new C-suites in their roles or also ones that may need to be stepped up in the current roles that they're at. What type of criteria could we apply to them?
I think that the there's you have to have your functional area of expertise. That's a given, right? That's a given with all C-suite roles. I think you have to have business acumen, which always needs to be there. And embracing AI isn't just about, it's cool tech. There's valuations that are dependent on are you AI first or how much you embrace AI. So you have to really understand and embrace that. But I think the biggest trait is are you leading the conversation? This is moving so fast and there's no playbooks. We all can use everything in our toolkit to kind of help us, predict what might happen, but it is moving so fast. So I think that the C-suites were the candidates who are going to be appealing to companies replacing C-suites or filling them for the first time, but I think you're going to see a lot of replacements, are those that are leading the conversation, those that don't claim to have all the answers. They're bringing collaborations together, they're learning from each other, they're helping people understand that it's not all, it's all not all roses. There are some negatives to it, but they know that it's coming. They know that they need to embrace it. And so they're embracing a learning mindset. Now, I think with executives, this is tricky, especially when you're kind of talking about the scale up stage of growth, because you have to know when to dive in and kind of relearn, but you also have to know when to rise up and kind of step back so that you can actually help affect the change. And I think it's hard, especially for first-time C-suites, to find that balance because they may want to go to the ground and learn, but then they don't pull themselves up. So I think the leaders of today, the most sought after C-suites, especially in the scale up stage or any company going through a major transformation, are those leaders that are willing to dive down, learn, be curious, but also know how to keep themselves accountable to kind of come up and also look and see what's happening. And that's a unique skill set. I think some of them can dive down this and they're very effective, especially the smaller scale. And then there's others who are way up here. But the ones who are really going to succeed in this era of AI, which is in the beginning of it, are those that know how to do both and can pull themselves up because no one else is going to pull you up. No one's going to pull you down either. So you've got to be really self-aware. And I think they're going to be looking for that. Now,
Yeah.
how do they find that out? Well, they're going to ask peers. They're going to see if you're online. They're going to see if, you're sharing a point of view. They're going to see if people are following you. They're going to look for all of those things because so many people are also building in public. So if you
Mhm.
are a C-suite who does not like to share things on social media, well, I'd encourage you to rethink a little bit of that.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's a good nugget. Like that's a hot take right there. Like start really build publicly. What other maybe tips or tricks that you can think of for a realistic step that someone else could really use to step themselves up this year as well
Look, if
in
if you're if you're in an organization, let's say you are massively embracing AI and you find yourself as a leader in an organization that, for whatever reason, from the top, from the side, is not embracing it, and you know that it's coming, and you want to be noticed in terms of getting into one of these roles where they're looking for someone who's AI forward. Someone I know ran into that in their organization. And then what they started to do was just use AI in their personal planning, in their kids' summer camp planning, and they shared that online. So what that's doing is kind of they're building in public, they're sharing their message that they're in fact embracing AI, even though their company isn't. So I think that there's different ways you have to get creative. You may be in an organization that isn't embracing it, but you're ready to, and there's things that you can do. And I think if you are in an organization that is not only embracing it, but it's coming from the top, it's coming from the board, take advantage of that. Like use it, take advantage because it's going to set you up for maybe this company, maybe a future role and another company that's doing something. I think the big opportunities are really going to be in those companies that need to transform into being AI first. Those are always harder. Those are you need experience in a lot of things. And I think those are going to be the opportunities where there's going to be a lot of replacements and a lot of new positions being filled. So if you want one of those roles, there's different things that you can do, and there's different people that you can follow online. It doesn't have to be what you're doing in your company. There's many other ways that you can share your interest and your use of it. And I think that's what people are looking for is a point of view, embracing, learning, and also having that leadership skills. Like you have to combine being a leader. And I think sharing your voice and helping others understand and embrace what's coming is part of being a leader.
And you have such good perspective across every function at these
Yes.
companies. And
Yes.
so, I'm sure some of our listeners are thinking, okay, well, that's a technology thing, right? Like the
Yeah.
CIO, CTO, or that team, or the head of AI, the chief AI, extra acronyms officer will drive that. And
I,
like, what would you say to all the CROs, CMOs, all those other folks out there? And they're like, you know what? Like, my company's not there yet, or
I
I'm working a little bit with Claude at home, but like how can they truly, truly embrace this stuff, set themselves apart, play with it the right way, and stand out? What do you think?
I think what I would do if I were a CRO, CMO, especially in those in customer success, there
Mm-hmm.
is so much benefit that the agents and AI can do internally to your organization, right? Just in terms of productivity, in terms of outcomes. There's just so many things that you can do. And if you're waiting for technology, either IT or product to help you, you're going to be behind, right? You're just going to be behind. Why? Because they're going to be focused on the product and making that AI ready. They're going to be looking at their own engineering organization processes and automating those first. And there's just so many opportunities. So what I would do is search out those people, the customer success leaders and the marketing leaders that are actively online talking about what they've done in their organization. And I would follow them. I would look who's making comments, and I would make a peer group of not that person because they're ahead of you. But what I would do is find a peer group of two or three others that are interested in it. They're at the same level you are. Maybe they're not in a competing, or they're not a competitor. And I would form a group, and I would hold each other accountable, and I would just figure out how you can um, um, build agents and incorporate AI into the processes of your organization, because many people are doing it. And you can find someone in your organization. The tools for AI are actually quite easy to use for anyone who's even curious about it. And you have the functional expertise, and it's really the functional expertise of what needs to be done that is pairs with the AI in terms of being able to automate these things. And if you can find someone in your organization who is interested in doing it, or you can hire a contractor, you're gonna start leading the pack. And that's what I would do, is I would create my own little group, my own little working group, and I would share, and I'd hold ourselves accountable and meet every week and just kind of get ahead. And I would be sharing what we're doing with each other, right? And I'd be posting each other's things and, high-fiving each other's things, but find someone who is at the same level that you are. But do know that everyone is learning, and it's going so fast. And I think it's even more important for CROs and CMOs and CFOs to embrace it, because it's internal. It's internal. You're not pushing out a product. You're really getting internal efficiencies. And I have to tell you, one of the areas that I think has the most impact is finance and the FP&A. There's analysis that used to take me weeks can now take me like a day to do. And so if your CFO is not embracing this, and they haven't really kind of hired some AI forward FP&A people, that's an area that I think is just immediate win. But I've seen it in customer success. I've seen it in sales. I've seen it in marketing. So find those people who are sharing, and know, like, you're not behind. What is behind is not learning, because it's changing. I mean, I saw something, I think Tatiana posted it. She said, Claude or ChatGPT used to have all like 70% of market share. Now Claude has it, and that happened in like 2 months. So like, it's just really about embracing and learning, and then finding groups that can help you do it faster, because then maybe they're going to look at one area, you're going to look at another, but just commit to learning and then sharing. That's the best thing you can do.
All right. I think we ended there. And you've inspired me to meet with Zen and form a little pod
There you
about
go.
this,
That's
because
my
yeah.
goal. So if I could do anything,
Yeah.
is to I like to inspire people
Yeah.
for action, because it's an exciting time. It's also, people are scared, and I would say the last thing I would say is also, like, turn your fear into action.
Mhm.
And if you've elevated, think back to what got you to that leadership role in the first place. If you're or if you're trying to get to the first, that hungry, that yearning, that learning, that ambition, that maybe you got a little bit of lax, right, over the last several years because the patterns were there. It's time to reignite that, because you're going to need it to carry your career forward.
That is perfect. I love it so much. Well, Shelley, we love your energy and passion. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom with everyone today. So,
Well,
so
I
good to
think you're
see
going to be
you.
really busy. So there you go.
Yeah, good vibes. We appreciate that. All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Thank you.